to Coast.
Yeah, it's been one of the interesting things about the Season 3 is that they've been just sort of like, we're just solo laners, we'll go wherever we want. Of course, the game is afoot. We'll see where these guys all end up going. Guys, we're here in the 4th game of Week 2. Dignitas spawning in the top right, Coast spawning in the bottom left. We'll see where these guys end up going. You talked about, you know, the scouting of the players and where they tend to go. I feel like Skara goes bottom for Dignitas like 90% of their games.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing some stats somewhere. Totally unverified.
Yeah, sure.
But I think Dignitas does more lane like swapping versus like where the two-man lane goes mid more than other teams. So they'll send out a QtPie and Patoy mid more than most other teams would, and that's why Skara spends so much time in the side lanes.
All right, now a lot of invading coming in from Coast, though, putting the word down on the race. Of course, that was pinged out. Dignitas doing the same. For what it's worth, though, no one from Coast saw Patoy put that ward down. Potentially a little bit of vision advantage. Patoy putting a lot of wards down. Got one on the double golems, got one on the lizard camp as well.
Yeah, they're really wanting some control over that red buff. And I'm thinking Dignitas is going to be running Thresh in the mid lane so that Patoy can help with invades down on the red side of the jungle. I don't know where Nintendo's X is going to start. This could be a very interesting level 1 by Dignitas. I think they have something planned. Remember, Dig was the team that did a double red buff and blue buff steal against Cloud9 in Week 1, so they are very willing to make aggressive buff steal plays at level 1.
And they just made a play right here to sweep out some of the vision on their Wraith camp, which really means there's only 2 wards now on the map total for Coast, and they're both in the top side. If Dig does go to that lizard side enemy jungle, that will be in the darkness. Nintendo and Mashme lurking around by their own lizard buff, and of course they're in full view of that Dignitas lineup.
But just out of random luck or maybe prediction, if Coast just takes this red while Crumbs is taking his red, this essentially invalidates the Dignitas ward. So even though Dignitas will know where Nintendo X is going and know the general direction of where the AD carry and support are going, it doesn't enable any counter jungling from Crumbs. It doesn't really give any immediate advantages to Dignitas.
Now, so Dignitas going to make their own moves to start the game out. They actually kind of were the first ones to make a choice here. They've already got QtPie there in the bottom lane. They've already got Skara there in mid, and Coast is allowed to actually respond to them and put their own people where they want. It's going to be Mashme and Daydreaming holding up that mid lane. A default shifter versus Skara matchup up top. That's
common stuff.
Wait, Kiwi Kid's on TF. Am I just that dumb that I didn't notice that before?
I think we both missed this entirely, Freak.
Skara was on Zed! Jet, we got it.
We got it. Good job, man. Predictors of everything, intentional or not. So this is neat. I wonder how Kiwi Kid's going to deal with this, because this is a total disregard for mid lane, top lane disparity. Kiwi Kid, he learned top lane for the spring split. Now he's learning TF. Go Kiwi.
All right, Kiwi Kid doing good stuff right there. Zion Spartan, though, QtPie just shows aggression, makes him just back the heck out. And, of course, here comes Crumbs as well on Lee Sin. So the 3-man dive there on the bottom turret has shown up. Zion Spartan has to be very, very afraid of this.
Yeah, this is just another example of trying to get down for the bottom lane. This is what we saw Curse versus Vulcan, but at that point, we didn't see Nintendo X actually coming to counter. This is actually very standard play here, as long as no one gets caught out.
Pull the damage output on Zion Spartan. QtPie almost went for more there. Nintendo makes him stop, saying, hey, dude, back out. I'm a spider, and I can scare Reginald. I can scare you. Get off my turf. So the 3-on-2, though, still here in this bottom turret. Dignitas not wanting to give this one up.
Yeah, Dignitas wants to keep that pressure off because they got so much damage onto Zion Spartan, but Zion Spartan is ticking down with those health potions, so they're trying to make something happen here, and I actually think Coast is sending even more support bottom lane to try to stop this from happening.
Yeah, Daydream was lurking around in the shadows, but he realized that he couldn't see Crumbs anymore, had to back out in fear of 1v1ing a Lee Sin. However, the rest of Dignitas are starting to back out of this one a little bit. They're kind of giving Zion Spartan room to breathe finally.
So I feel like Coast survived that fairly well. They didn't take much damage from that turret. Some of that has to do with the not tremendous wave clear of the Draven Thresh Lee Sin, so the windows they had actually at the turret to get damage down were rather small, plus there was a lot of potential threat and good wave clear coming out from Coast.
So let's compare the turret health then, because we talked about wave clear and the threat on the turret. So the middle turret for Dignitas is down to half, but so is actually that bottom turret for Coast. So minion kills what they are. Of course, you can compare Zion Spartan to Kiwi Kid and see a bit of an advantage for Dignitas, but turrets as well are actually quite equal here. So the 3-on-2 managed to be pretty much a wash. Attempted hook there by Daydream and nearly stops out the Lee Sin, but so far the lane matchups have made the game pretty equal.
Exactly, and I want to see if Coast uses this 2v1 mid for their advantage, and if they start doing jungle invades with it. Just
true.
because that's the whole reason that Daydreamin said he was picking Blitzcrank is for increased buff control. Maybe that'll happen a little bit later, or because he just wants to roam the map right now, because if he's a mid lane Blitzcrank and there's no pressure on him in a 2v1, he gets to go wherever he wants, as Nintendude and Daydreamin are coming bot for Cutie Pie and Patoy.
And I don't think they really got spotted, so here comes a jump in. Cutie Pie's gonna get the lantern, and the team will turn around. Oh, no! Oh my god, Daydreamin, you are amazing, and Cutie Pie is now trying to run, but they might have the damage they need. Ignite is on. No, Cutie Pie survives. A legit hook, though.
That was amazing. He had to calculate the speed of the hook when he saw it, and he pulled him mid-lantern instead of actually at his endpoint, but because Cutie Pie got enough distance from the lantern and still had his flash, didn't even get a kill out of it. He totally deserved it, though.
Stay in school, kids. Math works out and makes you play League of Legends better. He knew the trajectory and the vectors and the angle, did all the math. He didn't need Heimerdinger to do it. Picking that one up. Of course, not a kill, but still my top play of the game so far. Let's take a look at the rest of this map, though. Mash Me and Daydreamin with the Fists of Fury still trying to push down this mid lane, but that turret's it's kind of stopped taking damage here. Kiwikid's doing a very good job of holding that lane up in a 1v2.
Once Twisted Fate gets a couple of levels, those wild cards clear the wave like crazy. It's about 180 damage right now for Kiwikid on a about 6-second cooldown, so he can throw multiple wild cards per wave, always locking blue cards and then just trying to clear it out. It's not the easiest wave for Don't Mash Me and Daydreamin to push.
Yeah, they're getting damage on the turret, but just so slowly. You compare to some of the games we've seen before in the tournament, or in the league in general, where we see turrets die by like 3 or 4 minutes. Just jungler shows up, turret falls over, move on, landing phase continues, and we're 6.5, and these guys are still standing despite being in lopsided lanes. However, I do want to point out some of the adaptations these players have been doing. So Kiwikid is staying and wave clearing. Zion Spartan has been going back and taking his double golems over and over.
That's really interesting, actually, because he's only been able to do that since he's had so much jungle support. And Zion Spartan's been able to take a couple of those double golems, not falling too far behind. But if you look at the minion kills, he is, because like Scar and Kiwikid overall are out farming Zion Spartan.
And that is just a bad thing when you are Zion Spartan. You tend to kind of carry the team. That's one of the sort of core strategies of Coast is in Zion we trust. However, that mid lane has worked out. Nintendude shows up to support his team. Turret goes down. Built a small gold lead for Coast. Of course, TF passive helping Dignitas a little bit, keeping their gold pretty high.
And this opens up more roam potential for Coast, because again, Daydream and Nintendude could tag team down through this ward. This time Cutie Pie doesn't have flash, and Patoy hasn't made much distance yet. I think he's going to try to get away with that flash, as he does.
Yeah, good cocoon, good flash as well. Everyone playing that one pretty much properly. And of course, that team showing up does let Zion Spartan's turret survive. So we talked about this a little bit in the Vulcan versus Curse game, where the laning matchups and the movements they made build themselves advantages from turrets and things like that. Well, here, Coast, sacrificing their blue buff maybe, but have saved the turret for it.
Yeah, but at least they got the mid lane turret down, which is, I think, the most important thing for them. After that, they were just trying to save their other turret, and I think it was more of a turret war than a, hey man, we need to protect our blue buff. Because we look at their team comp, and yes, Shifter will be good with the blue buff, but he still does have that tier, and the blue isn't hugely impactful for a Jace until later in the game.
And I like how impressively both teams actually did. Oh wow, the flash away from the cocoon. Crumbs was very afraid of getting jumped on by those guys. Had to back away from that one. Of course, the knockback from Jace could have secured his fate. Zion Spartan level 6, so is Cutie Pie. So the equalizer was actually used last wave to clear out, but Zion has to sit in the wave because he's got to keep his turret alive here.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that Coast hasn't put more down bottom, but that's because they're going for kills mid on Kiwi.
Daydreamin should have his stuff up. There's the flash. We've seen Dignitas burn 3 flashes in a row now from the skill shots that are making people afraid. But speaking of skill shots, the hook lands on Zion Spartan. Down below half health, Lantern Shield is on, and they're still chasing him down. Cutie Pie knows no fear, but says, okay, you flashed out of range. Ult goes off. Zion Spartan has a TF ult on top of him, and that is Kiwikid picking up first blood.
There we go. It's actually quite an accomplishment that Kiwikid made it down that far, since with his mid turret down, he had to be very sneaky about his positioning. Now he's actually trying to execute himself because he knew he went in so deep. Nice play by Kiwikid there.
Well dying, actually, a very, very good choice by him. So Kiwi, unfortunately, falls over for his troubles, but heck, I'll take 400 gold any day for a quick death. So, we've got to now look at where we are in this game, because Dignitas have finally tied up that turret kill. They've gotten their first blood as well, and you look at that, Dignitas has their own lead here. The fans seem to be right. They've got an early lead, and they're doing well.
Now it's going to be about whether or not they can keep their lane pressure up, because we know they picked kind of to win these lanes. Cutie Pie's farming well. Surprisingly, Kiwi Kid's kept up quite well considering he was in an almost unhelped 1v2 this entire time. And then Skara versus Jace is something we unfortunately never get to watch in LCS games because the top lane matchup is usually so isolated. We just kind of look up there and be like, oh yeah, that's going even right there. And that's exactly what Skara and Shifter have been doing up there. It'll be about what happens when Skara and Shifter join the fight.
So let's see what kind of impact they can have. Of course, the ultimate is back available here for Rumble. The blue buff getting taken as well by Dignitas. Kiwi Kid getting himself a blue buff. I feel like it's a foreign concept for a top laner. I get blue buffs? Oh my gosh, this is so nice. I have cooldown reduction.
So happy about that one. And Twisted Fate lost his cooldown reduction in patch 3.7 actually. He no longer gets CDR just for leveling up his E, which is actually going to make the blue buff a lot more important for Kiwi Kid. 75 seconds left on his Twisted Fate ultimate, as you can see in the bottom left corner there. And that will most likely be used in conjunction with a dragon play if Dignitas wants to make a move down there.
So speaking of dragon plays, then, you know, the top laner have been sitting there for a long time. When do they say, yeah, guys, we should group with the team and take objectives versus stay top lane for a while?
I think they're just going to stay top lane for a while because there's not enough overall turrets down in the game, and there's actually so much importance in getting ahead in this turret race that as soon as a top laner leaves, I feel like the other team will kind of turtle out a little bit and just let the top turret, the top turret will just get taken. Both Zed and Jace push turrets very quickly, and they're just going to stay away from that game. I feel like they're going to let the rest of the map play 4v4.
Hook lands on Daydream, and so much burst damage comes across. Day's going to fall down, but here comes a counter engage from Nintendo. Puts some pain on a Patoy, has to repel up in the air, but he's about to get gold carded by a Kiwi. No, actually, sorry, he goes to the Wraith camp down below. He's safe right there. But a 1-0, and now Dignitas, they're going to want to keep on moving forward. An Arcane Shifter mash me. The rest of the team grouping back up. And here comes Scar from around the back. He's going to jump in. Don't mash. He's going to fall the heck over. Nintendo forced to run away as well. The Draven Bleed might just take him down. It actually does. And here comes the jump back in. Kiwi gets going to take down by Shifter. Zion's going to come back. Of course, has burned the equalizer 2 for 2 so far. Patoy getting lit on fire. Another kill picked up.
So everything really started when Patoy landed the hook and got the kill onto Daydreamin', but Dignitas burned a lot to just get the kill on a support. They still had to fight in the tower, and then when they dove, it allowed Coast a tremendous counterattack. Turret to lane and the spot in between is where the equalizer was actually placed by Zion Spartan, and it landed so well onto Dignitas that it pretty much won them that fight and gave them that dragon before Kiwi Kid's Twisted Fate ultimate could be used to control it.
So, great setup here, and of course, Coast picking up the kills at the end of that fight gives them the numbers advantage. That dragon is theirs. The Destiny was actually used, but they might just find an opening. The hook!
Nice hook!
At the spawn on Kiwi Kid. This is not good. The Tree Shot Barrage will not land, but Zion Spartan gets a free kill. Scar will turn that one back, though. 1-for-1.
I could be wrong here. Unless was Kiwi Kid porting? You should be able to tell me this. I'm wrong on this. When you port into a Fog of War, I should definitely know this. Do you get to see the port?
Yes.
Okay, that's how he hooked him there.
Yeah.
I was like,
you do know when TF shows up.
Yeah,
same as when you teleport to a ward.
That should be the way it works.
Yes.
And that's exactly why Daydream was able to hook him in. A bit of an ill-advised teleport from Kiwi Kid in there, because Dignitas didn't have the support able to come after him. Really, I guess, giving up the dragon and the kill, but still somehow having a goal lead at the end of it.
So Dignitas, that TF pass is definitely helping a little bit. Ooh, nice attempt there on Nintendo. He has to repel into the air. Was afraid for his life. And you know, games like this are so fun to watch, though, because you've seen basically a lot of really cool individual plays pretty much the entire time through, right? Just stupidly good clutch hooks from Daydreamin', flash dodges the whole way through. Pretty much everyone has been dodging skill shots that otherwise would have landed onto them, and just a lot of great plays back and forth. The team fights are hectic, too. It's one of the games you really like to watch at League of Legends.
Yeah, this is a very close game, as these guys had a very close game last week as well. Yeah. Maybe we'll get another base race. Who knows? Right now, because Dignitas is trying to crush these lanes. They're trying to put the pressure on, and it's just a matter of if they can get there.
Krems is just going to knock Shifter into the wall, and the burst comes across. Goodbye, Shifter. Can't do enough damage. True Shot Barrage almost makes Crumbs regret that decision, but he's going to be just fine. The wave clear comes out. Great pickup there for Dignitas.
Yeah, that was smart by Crumbs to tank the turret right off the bat since he's rushed that Spirit of the Ancient Golem, such a beefy tank item. All the Lee Sins today have been rushing that item as opposed to the Aegis or the Locket of the Iron Solar we saw out of a lot of the other ones.
Oh, Kiwi Kid's going to look for a little bit of pain against Zion. Spartan gets the stun inside of the turret range, and Zion, with just one turret shot to left, gets out of range. The 1v1 fight going in Coast's favor.
And this game is getting a little hard to keep track of. These guys are fighting everywhere, from top to bottom, 2v1 tower dives or 1v1 tower dives, but what we do know is Zion Spartan has consistently performed for Team Coast there, as he does with that kill on Kiwi Kid.
Yeah, he was the guy that was put into the junk lane. He was the guy who was getting zoned out, had to have Nintendo defend him, and was sitting there with, aside from the supports, the lowest minion kill score in the game, and is like, 4-2-1, what's up?
He got a lot of power out of that mid lane fight.
Yeah.
When they got the dragon afterwards, and then killed the teleporting in Kiwi Kid. That is what's really put him back in this game. He's at 5,000 gold right now. Zion Spartan actually has, only by a small margin, but the most gold of anyone on his team. The only person in the game who has more gold is Skara, who's been able to farm as well as pick up some kills in what was a 1v1 lane.
So great job then. Zion Spartan keeping his team afloat. Said that might have been one of the tactics that Coast would employ, and so far it is actually working. Zion has actually been given the top lane to farm out, and it's fun to watch which players teams tend to focus on. For example, CLG is like, double if you get the free lane farm, you're the one who goes out and carries all the gold on our team. Right here, they're actually putting a lot of effort onto Zion Spartan to let him catch back up in these solo lanes.
It's really starting to come in for Dignitas, which is surprising, considering Dignitas couldn't control the dragon, and I guess the fight in mid was a lot more even than we realized, but then afterwards, even when Kiwi Kid died, like, none of this actually seems to be hurting Dignitas too much, because they're still able to keep Coast pushed on their back foot. They're going for turret number 3, and if they get this, Dignitas might try to take more control of the game.
Certainly, they might have control of it. Nintendo's going to look for a counter gank here in this left-hand side lane, though, but it's going to be a 4 versus 2. Dignitas, they do make the move. They do get control of that turret. That's taken down. Another advantage for these guys.
And it was while everyone on Coast was actually back in base, so there was no lanes that Coast could be pushing to punish Dignitas for investing so much in this top lane. Now they're trying to fight him off.
They're looking for the re-engage. The TFO comes by as well. Kiwi Kid trying to make sure he can defend his team in the 5-on-5. True Shot Barrage does whiff. The rest of Dignitas gets out of that one for free.
It's a really nice split they did as the Ezreal kind of flew up the top through them. Rumble ult is used for pretty much nothing. Kiwi Kid did ult to come in. I guess you could argue that that was traded. And now it's a matter of if Coast tries to do anything, knowing that since Dignitas just had 5 top, it tells them where Dignitas may be going. They expect Dignitas went back to base right now, but Dignitas could be laying in wait for a kill.
And there goes Nintendo getting kicked in the air. Oh, he repels back up, though. He's going to try to get back down, but this is not a good numbers fight here. 5 versus 4, and the initiation is on. Nintendo's trying to run away. The pull in onto Zion Spartan. He's not going anywhere, but he finds some damage back on Skara, forcing him away. And in the meantime, Shifter has been pushing the mid lane.
And that's one of the punishments you get if you're Dignitas for putting 5 people in a top lane rush. When you don't know where everyone is, Shifter getting this, I think Dignitas wanted a lot more out of that fight. I actually thought they were going to get a lot more because Patoy landed an awesome flash box that triggered on 2, and they just weren't able to chase it down. So after all of that sneakiness and what was pretty much successful sneakiness, I think Coast came out on top in that engagement.
Daydream spots Cutie Pie in a ward, though. They're still looking for a little bit of blood here. The problem is the numbers, I think, are in Dignitas' favor. Kiwi Kid waiting in the background, and actually it's just Cutie Pie and Patoy saving this turret up. That could have been another fight. Daydream was looking for it.
So we're now at 3 turrets to 2.
Yeah.
It's still only 1.7 thousand gold. There was a Lich Bane rushed onto Kiwi Kid, which tells me they're trying to get this turret game going. Obviously, some Twisted Fates go for Lich Bane for like a little bit faster gank and the movement speed, but honestly, it is about the turret pushing here for Dignitas. I think they're going to be split pushing and trying to almost choke out Coast. They just need to get more power going first because Coast is fighting back really well.
Yeah, the difference in strategy, though, feels like a bit of a new look for Dignitas. We know we talked about their old endgame being the tri-lane split push, where they got ahead early and were like, just sit in your lanes, farm it up, and we'll just start getting ahead in our gold and be fine. But the heavy emphasis on actual objective control, though, is a little bit different.
It's definitely a bit of a change for these guys. The games are very close for them. I really want to see if Dignitas can get I'm a Cutie Pie going at all. If we kind of saw in the Curse game that if Draven can't start running over people, then he might not necessarily have a place. But I'm a Cutie Pie is a much more experienced Draven player, and I think he should know how to handle it. I want to see if Don't Mash Me can keep him at a distance later on in this game.
Draven running at you with crazy spinning axes might just be a little bit scary. So, Coast looking for what their openings are. They've been, as you say, kind of on the back foot a little bit this one. Dignitas have been making the openings. 3, actually, for what it's worth, the split push that Shifter managed to pull through a little while ago did make the turret lead 3-3, but here comes Dragon. Here comes Dignitas' next move on the map.
Yeah, and this could be because they saw Shifter trying to push out that really shoved minion wave over in the bottom, and I believe Crumb should just get that, but he gets pulled afterwards by Daydreamin'.
Oh, it just jumps right back across, though. The cocoon could not quite land from Nintendo, so they get away from this one safely. Daydreamin' this time around not getting the Blitzcrank rocket grab steal, but nice attempt anyway. Dig still. They pick up an objective.
Yeah, so good control by them. It's what they've been able to continue doing throughout pretty much this entire game. And even though Coast has been counterplaying them very well, I see Dignitas coming up. It's so crazy that we see a game that's 3 turrets to 3 because the whole map is open. And you can see that spread right now as Coast is trying to push up mid lane. Blowing ults, actually, Dignitas is to clear the wave.
Attempted rocket grab there as well. So it's Zion Spartan saying, we know we can't shove in your base too very easily. We do need to send someone back to defend that Skara split push because it's something we're worried about. So it's this crazy game of like aggression in different parts of the map. They're playing the whole playing field really aggressively, every one of these teams.
I want to see if Skara can take out Zion Spartan here because Zion Spartan has not went for any kind of Seeker's Arm Guard item or any kind of real Zed defense aside from that one cloth armor. So if Skara could get a jump on him, he could really make a play down there since he's completely isolated while everyone else is playing 4v4.
So let's see where Scar ends up going with this one. He's going to steal the red buff away, and of course Zion Spartan is not going to sniff him out. That duel, I feel like that duel is going to be better for Scar in general. The hook comes across, only lands onto a minion though. Cutie Pie was stunned. Could have maybe waited for that one around here. Here we go, the 4v4 still looking like it in the mid lane. Dignitas the one to look for moves. There's going to jump on Zion Spartan. The stun's going to come across. I don't think that Rumble is going anywhere. Great move there by Dig. They just find another opening.
And I really like how they punished Nintendo Dex and Daydreamin' for the missed opportunity there, because when Coast put themselves into Dignitas's red jungle, they gave Dignitas, specifically Kiwi Kid, enough distance so that he would be in ultimate range of Zion Spartan to pull off that kill. Map movement at its greatest.
Great capitalization there, knowing what the opponents could do and making your own choices. That's really what we like to see in these top teams, where they play to make things happen. They play to jump in there, find the openings, and force things down to their opponents to make sure they don't miss any opportunities here. So Coast, they've got the respawn. Zion Spartan is back on the map, but of course Skara is just still pushing that bottom lane. We talked about him a while ago, how he had the most gold in the game, and he's still got that title. 8,900, now 9,000 gold on him. No one in the game even has 8,000 gold. Skara is by far the most massive champion here.
And I wonder if Dignitas is going to continue split pushing with him, or if they're going to try to find some fights with him, because if you remove Scar from the equation, and assuming Zion Spartan can somehow fight Scar in that side lane, that 3,000 gold advantage by Dignitas, since as you said, Scar is 2,000 gold ahead of everyone on Coast, in the 4v4 sense, Coast will only be 1,000 gold down.
Yeah.
And the fight could actually be very close. So I think that unless Scar can kill in 1v1 situations, Dignitas has to find ways to either do more Twisted Fate ganks or fight 5v5.
So we'll see what they do with this one, because Scar is still running to that bottom lane, and heck, maybe they do a Vulcan where they're just like, incremental advantage, incremental advantage, incremental advantage. 35 minutes in, all right, we'll kill your Nexus. See what the game plan is for these Dignitas boys, because Coast right here are just trying to hold on and look for their openings. They've tossed out hooks, they've tossed out cocoons. They haven't necessarily always landed them. Really, they've looked to make plays. They haven't found the plays.
Exactly, and they found a couple.
They look a couple,
but they couldn't execute. They're really hoping Daydreamin' can get a hook onto I'm a Cutie Pie at some point, or Kiwi Kid. Either one of those would work for them. If they get that, they can make a power play off of Scar not being there. But as long as Dignitas continues to avoid those hooks, as long as they keep their wards up and just kind of run into smart places, they're going to be fine.
Will Coast have a chance for a small 5v3 right here? They just sent Cutie Pie back. He's going to go for it right. Ooh, Crumbs hops to a ward and forced everyone to run the heck back. Nearly getting that fight there for Coast. And Zion Spartan, you talked about the 1v1 potential. Scar, I think, is going to get this one. Oh my gosh, just gets kills.
And this is huge for Dignitas, because now Coast has another man just sucked down towards them, as well as shoving minion waves that Ezreal just tried to burn down bottom lane. Scar's going to have pressure on that bottom turret. Dignitas is going to push out mid and bottom. They're doing the tri-lane push.
There we go, that tri-lane push. Kiwi Kid's up in the top lane. He's been there a lot. The flash up got a Cutie Pie though. There comes the lantern, pulls him to the side, and that is a great save by Patoy. And of course, Scar in the bottom lane. This turret is his.
Dignitas is ready for it. That was the counter pull. He got pulled in and then just rolled the lantern back out. That continues Dignitas's turret assault here. Really well done. The one play there gives them 2 turrets.
Oh my gosh, and Kiwi Kid, of course, sorry, Cutie Pie, just still here at this mid lane. The tri-push, of course, continuing, and Dignitas have just continually made such great moves here. Those steal on blue looks to be coming up as well. Crumb's going to make that one happen. Cutie Pie is alone and doesn't even care.
Well, he's already survived a hook.
Yeah.
He can survive another one. Cutie Pie lives dangerously as he's going for that last Whisper right now. 8,000 gold on him to 7,700 of Don't Mash Me. And Don't Mash Me's actually went for the slow progression Blue Ezreal build, where he starts with the Bloodthirster instead of the Spirit of the Lizard Elder. You add about 1,000 gold to that build before you hit the point where you really want with the Iceborne Gauntlets and the Mirror Mana, plus the last Whisper. And since Coast isn't ahead of Dignitas, they're actually 6,000 gold behind them.
Oh gosh.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah, it is. So it's Coast just playing that waiting game. Now, at least thankfully for them, they've got something to fall back on eventually when they get there. They've still got items to go for and scalings to reach, but Dignitas have just not really allowed this game to go to them. They've made these moves, they've looked for the openings. The Twisted Fate has been played well, I would say, by Kiwi Kid. We didn't know how it was going to go, but he's found openings repeatedly. He's got death, but one of them is execute, and one's going to be a kick on Daydreamin'.
And there's Crumbs' insect play. I think they're going to be able to get Daydreamin' down.
Yep. Good job there. Crumbs and co making that one happen. So a lot of playmakers here for Dignitas. Scar's winning duels, Kiwi Kid's jumping in with his Twisted Fate ultimates, and Crumbs is picking people out by himself.
And here's the question, how does Dignitas close games? Because this game was close about 5 or 6 minutes ago, so they have found a little bit of a formula here that's working out quite well. Let's see if they do something here.
Another hook on a Nintendo. The box comes out as well. Patoy actually has to run away from that one. Took a lot of poke at the start. Forced to disengage. This turret is still losing health. Cutie Pie lurking around the sides. Shock Blast does some damage here, but so far, so good. Dignitas has another wave. They might stay.
Does look like Dignitas should get back to the split push. They have enough turrets down already, 5-3, and Skara has shown enough scariness in the bottom lane that Coast pretty much has to send 2 people for him at all times. It gives the rest of Dignitas a lot of freedom to build up their lead.
And you're going to see this league continue to grow because they're looking for the dragon right here. Cutie Pie throwing spinning axes as it. Another 1,000 gold picked up for Dignitas, putting them now 7,500 gold up. They keep finding things to do well. They keep finding objectives to grab, kills to take, and plays to make. And Dig are looking very much on form this day.
And it looks like Crumbs is going just super tank Lee Sin, which is not too surprising. That's what most Lee Sins have been doing. Decent farm number for him, 84, but a crazy farm number there for Skara. 250 at 26 minutes because he has lived in that bottom lane. Over and over, Skara's going to be there until Coast, I feel like, sends everyone for him. And at that point, the rest of Dignitas would be able to take a Baron. So Coast has to find an answer for Skara if they want to make anything happen in this game.
I'm not even sure they have a duelist that can take him on. I mean, you saw Zion Spartan was going towards Azonius. Doesn't have it yet, to be fair, but he was getting one-shotted with some tankiness in his build. They certainly can't send Shifter. I don't think Nintendo or Daydreamin' can do it either. And sending Mash Me, that scares me too. Even with a Glacial Shroud and Iceborne Gauntlet, I feel like it's still a bad matchup.
I think Mash Me would be like their only hope, but I think it may be too late for them. What they're doing instead is they're saying, we're going to race Skara to our inhibitor turrets as they're forcing down in this middle turret. Let's see if they can get it before Dignitas counterattacks.
It is a 5v4. They get some initiative onto Crumbs. The damage output is there. They are trying to pop him down. The Lantern comes across. 1 for nothing. The flash is away from the hook, but they find Kiwi Kid as well. They found 2 kills. Cutie Pie taking pain, but he's going to find Zion Spartan. Look at the damage from those axes. We watch Scar in the bottom corner is taking down the inhibitor turret, but the inhibitor itself has been taken down by Coast.
Yeah, and I feel like Coast is trying to go for more here, but Scar's on his way back. I don't think Coast can do this one.
They're running out of minions, but that turret is running out of health, down below half HP. Lantern comes across, but Toy wants something to happen, and Cutie Pie doesn't want to click the Lantern because Cutie Pie does not care. He's going to kill minions instead. Skara just might find an opening, though.
I feel like that was one of those scary lanterns to ride because you don't really know where it's going. I actually think it was the right call of Cutie Pie not to click that lantern from Patoy because I think it could have led to the death of him.
Yeah.
But that was a really good play by Coast. They killed an inhibitor. Even though they lost their inhibitor turret, that was their answer for dealing with Scar. Now anytime Scar goes bottom lane, at least in the next recent future, there's going to be super minions pushing up the mid. Dignitas trying a really quick back play themselves because they're running to Baron, knowing, especially with the TF ult, everyone on Coast is in their base.
So many fast moves back and forth. Baron down to half health, and Nintendo, we've seen him get so many steals, and they just jump onto him. They know to be afraid of that Elise. Kiwi Kid and Patoy making things happen. Misses the wild card, but he's been ignited. Nintendo forced to run away, but Baron goes down, 28-59. The hook on a Kiwi Kid. He's gonna fall. No, he's gonna Zonia's first. He's not falling over. There's the poke coming down. They get that kill. Patoy is low. Can Coast go in for a 5v4 and take away some Baron buffs?
Coast wants to get more kills. Look at that awesome Rumble ult.
Just slowing Patoy down. Zion, Spartan, perfect vector targeting. Volta dead on Patoy, 5v3.
And now the race might begin because it's actually a 5v2. There's Skara going bottom lane, and what we thought was going to get sent back is actually Don't Mash Me going back to fight him off.
Here we go. Mashme's going to see if he can actually fight Skara in the base. Of course, Skara has Baron buff. Secondary turret goes down. They actually send Nintendude back as well. So 3v2 is the push here. Blitzcrank plus Shifter plus Zion Spartan. Daydream and spots Crumbs off on the side. No, actually the push will not continue because everyone is respawning back. Inhibitor goes down. The Nintendo wants to jump in onto Skara. Can he do the damage? There is a stun, and he's going to keep looking for some pain right here. The Ezreal's going to whiff. Nintendo's not in a good place. Flash in from Skara, and Skara picks another dual kill and still walks out with style.
He almost killed Don't Mash Me as well. So that is Skara just manning up. And at this point, it's Skara versus the world. He's so farmed on Zed and such a large part of Dignitas' lead. Skara's got 13,000 gold right now. That's 2.4k more than anyone else on his team. So when he's not there, which Coast is trying to capitalize on, Coast is trying to fight the rest of their team. But if they can't deal with Skara, even if they send two, that's good for Skara. That's going to be a Dignitas win. This is a very interesting game now.
So we've got to now pay a lot of attention, of course, to where the minions go and how the minion waves are setting up, because we know that both these bases are wide open. I mean, last time these guys played, it was a base race, and it was the Nexus almost going down, a team getting ace, the other Nexus falling down. You've got a very similar situation brewing here, where the bases are like 30 seconds away from dying at any time.
And in this game, I'd say the gold lead is a little bit more towards Dignitas than it was last week in opening week for the LCS. But the situations that arise are very similar because anytime you're in split pushing scenarios, you're just inviting base races. No one in this game has teleports. Yep. So being able to defend against the base races or even creating super surprise ones are a little bit harder. But just because Skara is so often away from his team, we don't see that situation arise much. But now, Dignitas actually has 5 people in the mid lane for the first time in a real long time, and we could see a big fight here.
Of course, Super Minions are there. We'll see if the Coast team wants to ride that wave anywhere. Of course, they've got to remember that bottom lane is getting pushed in very, very strongly. It's down past their dead outer turret. Someone's got to respond to that eventually.
Yeah, and Dignitas still has Baron on 3 for another minute and a half, basically. Crumbs, Skara, and I'm a Cutie Pie are all sitting with the Baron buff. And Coast can only stay here for so long because if they don't go back, eventually that super minion stack in the bottom lane could take out a Nexus turret for Team Coast, so that's why Coast just has to back away.
That is not something Coast wants to lose. Of course, Blue Buff has respawned. The Twisted Fatal comes out, and they're going to jump in on towards Nintendude X. The free initiation onto Cutie Kid, though. He's going to Zonius and try to set up the fight here. The pull's going to land onto Cutie Pie, but Daydreamer gets chunked out. He's going to fall down. Cutie Pie picks up 1. The Lantern comes across. Cutie Kid does survive that battle, but Scar's in the mix. The jump in onto Nintendude. They're going to go re-engage for the battle here. Mashme drop very, very low in health. Has to jump backwards. Nintendude's going to fall over. Double kill picked up there for I'm a Cutie Pie. And, of course, Dignitas are not done. They find the slow into Crumbs, and that next turret you talked about has fallen down. Mashy's going to try to find 1, but Skara is godlike and takes him down. Only Shifter and Zion Spartan remain.
That was a really surprisingly good force by Kiwi Kid. You're like, what are you doing, man? Teleporting in with Twisted Fate, but it stalled Coast long enough. It allowed Dignitas to flank around. Even though I'm a Cutie Pie got hooked from the Abyss, Dignitas was still able to come on top of that game, and I think they try to end here.
They're going to look for it there. Shifter taking so much damage. Cutie Pie is on a killing spree. Zion Spartan finds 1, but he's going to find his doom as well. The respawn is here from Daydream, and the Nexus is falling down. This is almost certainly Dignitas' game to win. Nexus down to 1/3 health, 1/4. Cutie Pie still in the Nexus, but that's going to be GG, and it's relief on the Dignitas faces for pulling that game out.
They did it, man. They took